The grand hall was buzzing with excitement. Bright lights reflected off polished floors, and the chatter of wealthy collectors echoed through the space. Jessica stood near the back, her hands clenched nervously. Today was the day of the city's most famous fashion auction, a place where fortunes were made and reputations broken. Her brother, Daniel, stood confidently near the stage, laughing with other bidders. He had always been the popular one, the one everyone admired. Jessica, on the other hand, had often been the quiet, underestimated sister, always overlooked. But she had been working on something special for years, a plan that nobody suspected. As the auction began, Jessica's stomach tightened. The first few items went under the hammer quickly, selling for thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. She watched Daniel raise his hand, smirking as he outbid others effortlessly. He seemed unstoppable. And then, the moment came. The spotlight turned to a sleek, modern fashion brand being auctioned, a chain of boutiques that had been in their city for years. Daniel leaned over to Jessica, a mocking grin on his face.
You? Buying that?
Don't make me laugh, he whispered. His tone dripped with contempt, and his laughter echoed cruelly in her ears. You wouldn't know a business if it hit you in the face. Jessica felt her cheeks burn. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor and escape the embarrassment. Around her, others snickered. Some knew Daniel well, and they joined in the laughter. Her heart pounded. She had never felt so small, so humiliated, in her life. But beneath the shame, a spark of determination ignited. Jessica clenched her fists. One day, I'll show him. One day, he will regret this. She whispered the words to herself so quietly that nobody could hear, but the fire in her chest roared louder than the crowd's laughter. The auctioneer's voice boomed, calling for the next bid. Daniel raised his paddle with confidence. The room held its breath as the price climbed higher and higher. Jessica could feel sweat forming on her palms. She had no intention of bidding, at least, that was what everyone thought. But Jessica had a secret. 4 months, she had quietly saved, invested, and learned everything she could about the fashion industry. She wasn't just another sister in the shadow of her brother, she was ready. She had researched the brands, their owners, the financial details. And this chain was the perfect start. As Daniel laughed and bid again, Jessica surprised everyone. She raised her paddle. A hush fell over the crowd. Daniel's laughter faltered, replaced by disbelief.
Wait, what?
He muttered. The auctioneer smiled, ready to take the next bid. Jessica's heart raced. She raised her paddle higher. The numbers climbed. Daniel tried to outbid her, but she stayed calm, calculating, confident. Every bid she made was precise, strategic. Minutes felt like hours. The room was tense. People whispered, astonished by the quiet determination of this underdog. Daniel's face turned red with anger and frustration. How could Jessica, the sister he always mocked, even compete? Finally, the hammer fell. Jessica won. The crowd gasped. Daniel's jaw dropped, and his confident smirk disappeared. Jessica had done the impossible. She had taken the brand, his brand, or at least the one he had wanted, right out of his hands. For a moment, there was silence. Then, laughter, nervous, embarrassed, and shocked. Daniel turned to leave, muttering under his breath. Jessica stood tall, a smile spreading across her face. She felt powerful, unstoppable, and alive. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge was yet to come. Owning the brand was one thing, but running it, growing it, and using it to teach her brother a lesson he would never forget, that would require every ounce of her courage and intelligence. As she walked out of the auction hall, the flashing lights of cameras following her, Jessica whispered to herself, "This is just the start. He will regret ever underestimating me." And with that thought, a new chapter of her life began, one full of ambition, strategy, and most importantly, revenge. After winning the auction, Jessica felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The entire crowd had watched her succeed, but she knew the real challenge was just beginning. Owning a fashion brand was nothing compared to running it successfully, and she had a plan. Her first steps were careful. She visited the brand's headquarters the next day. The staff looked surprised when they saw her, a young woman they barely recognized. Some whispered, "Is she the new owner?" Others laughed, thinking she was just a temporary visitor. Jessica ignored them. She had no time for doubts. She needed to earn their respect, fast. The offices smelled of fresh paint and new designs. Jessica studied every detail, from the displays to the finances. She noticed small mistakes that had been ignored for years: inventory errors, marketing problems, and poor social media presence. Each problem was an opportunity. She made notes, planning how to turn the business around. Meanwhile, word of her success reached Daniel. He sat in his penthouse, scrolling through news feeds. His face turned pale as he saw headlines about his little sister taking over the fashion brand he had laughed at. How did she do this? He muttered, his voice shaking. He had always assumed she was weak, unambitious, and easily ignored. But now, the truth was undeniable. She had outsmarted him, and he hated it. Jessica didn't know it yet, but Daniel's jealousy would soon become her advantage. She had already planned her first steps. Her first move was simple but bold. She called a meeting with the brand's managers and designers. "I know this business has potential," she said with confidence. "I want to improve everything: designs, marketing, sales. But I need your help. If we succeed together, everyone will benefit." Some employees were skeptical. How could someone so young, so inexperienced, run an established brand? But Jessica's sincerity and sharp insights won them over. Slowly, they began to listen. Her clear vision and energy inspired them. Next, she turned to social media. The brand had barely any online presence, which surprised Jessica. She hired a small, talented team to manage Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube accounts. She posted behind-the-scenes videos, fashion tips, and exciting previews of new collections. Within weeks, the brand's online following began to grow. Customers started noticing, sharing posts, and coming to the stores in increasing numbers. Meanwhile, Daniel tried to maintain his image of control. He bought new pieces, flaunted his wealth, and told friends he still had the upper hand. But secretly, he was furious. Everywhere he looked, Jessica's name appeared. She was becoming the topic of conversations he couldn't dominate. Jessica's plan went further. She discovered that some of Daniel's suppliers were loyal to her, not him. She negotiated better deals quietly, improving the brand's profit margin. Daniel had assumed she would fail financially, yet the numbers were already showing improvement. As the brand grew, so did Jessica's confidence. She walked into stores, smiled at customers, and listened carefully to their opinions. Every detail mattered. She learned quickly, and the more she succeeded, the more shocking it was to everyone who had doubted her. One evening, Daniel decided to confront her. He arrived unannounced at the main store, his face red with anger. "Jessica, this is impossible. How are you running this brand so well?" he demanded, glaring at her. Jessica looked at him calmly, not a hint of fear. "It's simple," she said softly. "I studied, planned, and worked hard. Maybe you should try it sometime instead of mocking me." Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came out. He realized she had not only beaten him at the auction, but she was also proving herself capable in every way he had once claimed she could not. That night, Jessica left the store, walking past the lights of the city. She felt a thrill unlike anything she had known. Every strategy she had planned, every move she had made, was working. But she also knew that Daniel would not give up easily. He would try to sabotage her, to take back control. She had to be ready. And she was ready. Jessica's revenge was not about destroying her brother, it was about proving herself. Every step she took strengthened her brand and confidence, making her unstoppable. Little did Daniel know, the next move she planned would not just shock him, they would make everyone else gasp as well. Jessica's brand was growing faster than anyone expected. Sales were climbing, social media followers were skyrocketing, and the once doubtful employees now looked at her with admiration. But she knew this was only the beginning. Winning at the auction had been the first step. The Real Challenge was showing everyone that she was here to stay, and that Daniel's mocking words had no power over her. Daniel, meanwhile, could not hide his frustration. Every news article, every social media post about the brand, felt like a personal attack. He had underestimated his sister, and now the tables had turned. His friends whispered about Jessica's miraculous rise, which made him angrier. Every morning, he checked sales reports, online trends, and customer reviews, not to manage the business, but to find ways to undermine her. Jessica, however, was always 2 steps ahead. She began inviting influencers and fashion bloggers to her stores, offering exclusive previews of new collections. Photos of Jessica visiting workshops, testing fabrics, and giving design advice began circulating online. The brand became a symbol of innovation and fresh ideas. Customers felt a connection with her, not just the clothes, but the story behind the owner who had fought against all odds. One afternoon, Jessica noticed something interesting. Several high-profile clients who had once shopped exclusively at Daniel's stores were now coming to her boutiques. She realized that Daniel had built his empire on reputation, not on loyalty. People respected her talent, her vision, and her work ethic. Daniel's arrogance had blinded him. Instead of gloating, Jessica used this knowledge strategically. She personally reached out to key clients with handwritten notes and small gifts, inviting them to visit the store and meet her. Her personal touch made them feel valued. Slowly, Daniel's customers were being drawn away without him even realizing it. Daniel decided to confront her again, hoping intimidation would work this time. He walked into her flagship store with a group of friends, his expensive suit and confident posture meant to impress. But Jessica stayed calm, greeting him politely. "Jessica," he said, his voice tight, "I don't know how you're doing this. People are leaving me for you, and this brand, it's thriving." Jessica smiled, a quiet but firm smile. "Daniel, the brand didn't fail because of me. It failed because of neglect and arrogance. I just gave it the care it needed." Daniel's face turned red. He wanted to argue, to shout, but he knew she was right. Jessica had not only taken the brand from him at the auction, she had made it better than ever. Every action he had taken in the past now seemed careless compared to her thoughtful, strategic approach. But Jessica didn't stop there. She planned her next move carefully. She started collaborating with other successful fashion designers, expanding the brand's reach. She introduced new product lines, organized events, and even appeared on local TV shows to talk about entrepreneurship. Each step was calculated to solidify her reputation while keeping Daniel in the shadow of her success. One evening, as Jessica reviewed the sales numbers, she noticed something extraordinary. The revenue from Daniel's stores had begun to drop, while her brand continued to rise. She realized her revenge was not about anger, it was about proving that intelligence, patience, and dedication could beat arrogance and cruelty. Meanwhile, Daniel's frustration boiled over. He tried small sabotage attempts, spreading rumors, offering fake discounts, and attempting to lure employees back to his stores. But Jessica had already built loyalty among her team. Each attempt failed, leaving him angrier and more desperate. Jessica, however, never celebrated too early. She understood that the bigger the victory, the bigger the risk. She kept refining her strategies, learning every day, and planning her next steps. Every move she made was designed not just to succeed in business but to teach Daniel a lesson he would never forget. By now, the city was talking about Jessica and her incredible journey. People admired the young woman who had been mocked and underestimated but had turned humiliation into power. Daniel, once the confident, arrogant brother, was now struggling to keep up. As Jessica left the office that night, she looked up at the city lights and smiled. She knew that her ultimate revenge was not about destroying her brother, it was about proving herself, showing the world, and ensuring that no one would ever doubt her again. Little did Daniel know, Jessica's most shocking move was yet to come. She had not just taken his brand, she was planning a step that would completely change their lives, and leave him speechless. Jessica's brand had become the talk of the city. Stores were crowded, online sales were booming, and every new collection she released seemed to exceed expectations. Yet, she knew the real triumph was not just in numbers, it was in sending a message to Daniel. Her brother's mockery had fueled her, and now it was time to make him truly understand her strength. She had been planning carefully for months. She knew Daniel's weaknesses, his pride, his reliance on appearances, and his desire to be admired. She also knew that he loved public recognition more than anything else. If she could hit him where it hurt the most, his image, her revenge would be complete. The opportunity came when a major city gala was announced, celebrating influential figures in fashion and business. Daniel immediately accepted the invitation, expecting the usual admiration and attention. He assumed he would be the star of the evening. Jessica smiled quietly to herself. She also accepted the invitation, but she had a plan that Daniel could never see coming. The night of the gala arrived. Daniel arrived first, dressed impeccably in his expensive suit, greeting guests and reporters with his usual arrogance. Everyone expected him to dominate the event. But Jessica entered moments later, wearing a stunning, elegant outfit that reflected both confidence and sophistication. Cameras turned immediately, flashes lighting up the room. Whispers ran through the crowd. Who is she?
Is that Daniel's sister?
Daniel noticed instantly. His face paled, and his confident posture faltered. Jessica's presence alone was already causing a stir. But the real shock was about to come. Jessica approached the stage with poise. The gala organizers, impressed by her success and growing influence, invited her to present a brief speech about innovation in fashion. The audience watched in awe as she spoke passionately about creativity, hard work, and turning challenges into opportunities. Her words were inspiring, and every eye in the room seemed fixed on her. Daniel's jaw dropped. People were clapping, laughing, and even taking selfies with Jessica, while he stood frozen, realizing the spotlight had shifted completely. His friends exchanged awkward glances, unsure how to react. After the speech, Jessica revealed the surprise she had been preparing. She announced a partnership between her brand and several top designers and influencers, creating an exclusive line that would launch nationwide. The crowd cheered. Journalists rushed to record her every word. Social media exploded with posts praising her vision.
Daniel could barely speak.
His empire had relied on reputation, flashy appearances, and connections, but Jessica had created something real, tangible, and admired by everyone. The humiliation he once inflicted on her now felt like a mirror reflecting his own failures. Later that night, Jessica confronted Daniel privately. She didn't need to shout or attack him verbally. Her actions had already spoken louder than any words. "Daniel," she said softly, "I hope you understand now. Success isn't about arrogance or mocking others. It's about hard work, strategy, and respect.
You laughed at me, but I turned it all around."
Daniel could only nod, a mixture of shame, anger, and disbelief on his face. He realized she had done more than win a business. She had outsmarted him at every turn and earned the admiration he always craved. But Jessica didn't stop there. She made a public gesture that truly cemented her victory. She invited Daniel to collaborate on a charity project under her brand, giving him a role that seemed important but was carefully designed to highlight her leadership. The event was a success, but the spotlight stayed firmly on her. Daniel had no choice but to follow along, aware that the city, and everyone in the industry, now respected his sister far more than him. Jessica walked away from the gala that night, her heart full of satisfaction. This was more than revenge, it was justice. She had taken her humiliation, her brother's mockery, and turned it into strength. She had proven not only to Daniel but to the entire city that she was capable, intelligent, and unstoppable. And as the lights of the gala faded behind her, she realized something important. Revenge was sweet, but success was sweeter. She had shown Daniel the truth in the most powerful way possible, not through anger or confrontation, but through her actions and achievements. This night marked the turning point. Daniel would never underestimate her again, and Jessica had cemented her place as a force to be reckoned with in the fashion world. The final step was clear. Jessica's plan was nearly complete. She had conquered the auction, built the brand, outsmarted her brother, and claimed public recognition. But one final move remained, one that would leave everyone, including Daniel, in complete awe. The city was still buzzing with news of Jessica's incredible rise. Fashion magazines featured her on the cover, social media was filled with posts about her new collaborations, and customers everywhere were talking about the innovative designs and fresh ideas she had brought to the brand. Jessica had achieved more than she had ever imagined, but she knew there was one final step to fully complete her journey. Daniel, once so arrogant and confident, had become cautious, almost fearful. He avoided public events where Jessica might appear, and he constantly checked social media to see how she was performing. But Jessica wasn't done with him yet. She wanted him to see her ultimate success, to understand the full impact of underestimating her. The opportunity came when a major city fashion week was announced. It was the most important event of the year, where brands competed to show their best collections to industry leaders, media, and potential investors. Daniel immediately planned to showcase his store's new collection, assuming he would steal the spotlight. But Jessica had already submitted her designs, and she had a plan that would make the audience remember her name forever. The first day of Fashion Week arrived. Daniel's models walked the runway, wearing his expensive but predictable designs. The audience clapped politely, but their interest was lukewarm. Jessica watched from backstage, calm and confident. Her team buzzed with energy, preparing the runway with flawless lighting, music, and stage design. Every detail had been meticulously planned. When Jessica's turn came, the room went silent. Her models appeared in bold, elegant, and original outfits that combined creativity with sophistication. Cameras flashed constantly, journalists whispered to each other, and influencers began posting live updates. The designs were not just beautiful, they told a story of triumph, intelligence, and hard work. Daniel watched from the audience, his face pale. Every cheer, every camera flash, every compliment went to Jessica, not him. His jaw tightened as he realized the truth. The spotlight was no longer his, and it would never return. After the show, Jessica walked on stage to accept an award for Best Emerging Fashion Brand. The audience applauded, many standing to honor her achievement. She looked directly at Daniel, who stood in the back, speechless. No words were needed. Her success spoke louder than any insult or mockery he had ever thrown at her. Later, at the after-party, Jessica approached Daniel privately. She didn't gloat, she didn't mock. Instead, she offered him a chance to learn from her, to work alongside her if he wanted to reclaim respect in the fashion world. Daniel hesitated, his pride wounded, but he realized the lesson she had been teaching all along. "I hope you understand now," Jessica said softly, "that underestimating someone is dangerous. Hard work and intelligence always win over arrogance and mockery. I didn't just win the brand or the audience, I proved that effort and strategy matter more than pride." Daniel nodded slowly. He had no words. The humiliation he once inflicted on her had reversed completely. The sister he once mocked had not only taken the brand, but elevated it to heights he could not reach. Jessica smiled. She had achieved more than revenge. She had proven herself, gained respect, and inspired others. The city now recognized her talent, her determination, and her courage. And the best part? She did it all without losing her integrity or letting anger consume her. Weeks later, Jessica's brand expanded nationwide. Stores flourished, designs were in high demand, and she became a role model for young entrepreneurs. Daniel continued to work in the industry, but now he did so quietly, aware that his little sister had become the true star. Jessica often reflected on her journey. From being humiliated at the auction to dominating Fashion Week, every step had been a lesson in patience, planning, and resilience. She had turned a moment of shame into a lifetime of success, showing that the smartest revenge is the one that elevates you, not just humiliates your enemy. Her story spread across social media, inspiring countless people who had faced mockery, doubt, or underestimation. Jessica had done more than win a business. She had shown the world that determination, intelligence, and courage could overcome any obstacle. And as she stood in her flagship store one evening, watching happy customers browse the designs, she whispered to herself with a quiet smile, "This is just the beginning. I will keep growing, keep winning, and nothing will ever stop me again." The city had witnessed the rise of a true queen of fashion, a woman who had been mocked, underestimated, and doubted, but who had turned every insult into a victory. Jessica had not just shocked her brother, she had shocked the entire world.